Alright everybody, today we are talking about Rise of the Third Power, a JRPG styled after the late Super Nintendo generation of RPGs. Rise of the Third Power was released back on February 10th, 2022 for Nintendo Switch and all other major platforms, and was developed by Stegosoft Games and published by Dangen Entertainment. Rise of the Third Power will take you on a journey through a war-weary but recovering world where the specter of a new war is beginning to rise. As part of a ragtag band of resistance fighters, your party will endeavor to end the next war before it can begin. This journey will take you from lush plains and forests, to the harsh and unforgiving deserts, to tropical islands, and to snow-capped mountains as you learn about the world of Ren, its dangers, mysteries, and politics. The art style in Rise of Third Power is reminiscent of that in Chrono Trigger and other late Super Nintendo RPGs, especially in the character art and overworld map. The game is very pretty to look at and enjoys a fantastic and varied soundtrack that I could listen to for hours. Combat plays out in the traditional turn-based battles you'd expect out of a JRPG, but the varied enemies and the variety of abilities each of your party members possesses adds a strategic depth to the combat as you set up party members to support and enhance each other's abilities. Generally speaking, you can't win most battles by just spamming one attack. You will have to adjust your strategy based on the enemy you are fighting, and multiple mandatory and optional boss fights will challenge your strategy and keep you on your toes. Moving now into the pros and cons, just to give you a quick breakdown of the best and worst of the game, I'll first mention that I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough of Rise of Third Power, and there are many aspects of the game I would include in the list of pros. However, for brevity's sake, I'll narrow that list down to my top 3, and just list out the rest at the end of the video. First up, we have the story. In any JRPG, I have to have a good story to follow to keep me interested, and this one did not disappoint. I came in with little to no expectations and was pleasantly surprised with the game's story as it was loaded with backstory that got me to care about the characters, along with a good bit of humor. The game also has fun with a few RPG tropes, like for instance when NPCs will actually question why you're in their house, or straight up tell you to get out. The story also managed to surprise me from time to time, not necessarily with what happened, but how it happened. The story involved a lot of political machinations, espionage, and intrigue that kept me playing to see what would happen next, or how the heroes would get out of the next sticky situation. Overall, if you enjoy anime stories, I think you'll enjoy the story in Rise of the Third Power. Next up, we have the combat system. The game follows a traditional JRPG model, but adds its own unique twist with the way characters' abilities play off of each other, and also the ability to swap out characters mid-combat. As you play, you will find that certain characters complement each other well and are best used in concert. For example, Rowan's slash attack will give the bleed status to an enemy, which will in turn allow Karina's quick slash attack to do 50% more damage. As you play and level up and add more characters to your roster, you will discover more of these combinations that, along with enemy variety, make combat actually take some thought rather than just having each character spam a basic attack. Another aspect of the combat is your resource management as well. Each character has a pool of stamina or mana that will deplete as you use most abilities and replenish with certain others, or over time. This can make you have to plan out strategies over the next couple of turns rather than just reacting in the moment. Overall, the combat here didn't do anything too out of the norm for JRPGs, but it did enough to at least keep most combat interesting and not feel like a chore. And one last thing worth a mention here is that there are no random battles. All enemies can be seen in the world, and many, if not most, can be completely avoided if you so choose. For my third pro, I'm going to cheat and combine two things here: the music and the visuals. I was very impressed with the music, as the soundtrack contains many orchestral pieces that are great at evoking the right emotions for the scenes and environments they are placed in. There's decent variety too. You won't be hearing the same 3 melodies throughout the game, and some of the boss battles change it up and play more rock-themed music, while at other times the music may take a more whimsical or humorous tone. The visuals and art are top-notch in my opinion. The developer really went for a specific look here, and they nailed it. Playing through Rise of the Third Power will give you serious nostalgia for the golden age of Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis RPGs. Before moving on to the negatives, Hit that like button if you're enjoying the video, and subscribe and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more of my content. I cover mostly Nintendo Switch games, but may branch out into some PC gaming soon, with a focus on RPGs and strategy titles. Though I'm still experimenting with content, so if you have any suggestions on what to cover on the channel, I'd be happy to hear them. You could provide the inspiration for my next video. Alright, let's get back to Rise of the Third Power. So as far as complaints go for Rise of the Third Power, I could really only come up with a couple. And one of those will be more of a personal preference for most people. So what are they? Well, first, my biggest complaint with the game would be the lack of animation during battles. Each of your party members have animations, which are all very cool and impactful, but none of the enemies in the game have animations when they attack or use abilities, which I found a little strange. All you get is a slight flash of the enemy that is attacking, and then a tiny animation of your character getting hit. I'm not sure why the developers decided to go this way, maybe just to save development time or to shorten battle sequences, but the lack of enemy animations sticks out like a sore thumb, especially when compared to the flashy and impressive animations for the player characters. This shortcoming doesn't ruin the experience, but it feels like my cupcake has icing, but no sprinkles. Finally, the other potential issue for some players: while the game certainly contains most modern quality of life features you would expect, like an autosave feature for instance, it does not point you to your objectives. There is no compass or minimap telling you where to go. You'll have to check your quest notes to get to the right location, and then thoroughly explore it to complete your objectives. For me, I don't mind this, as I find exploration an enjoyable and key component in a game such as this. The lack of UI arrows pointing you in a direction means you are more likely to take a wrong turn and explore something, and sometimes find loot you otherwise would have missed. So if you're the type of player who doesn't have the patience to find your own way sometimes, you may find the game a little frustrating at times. So as promised, here is my full list of pros and cons. The game will take you between 30 and 40 hours or so to complete, depending on how much side questing you do. Overall, because of the amount of content, polish, and enjoyment you can get out of Rise of the Third Power for only $20, I place this firmly in the buy category. If you enjoy a solid JRPG or enjoy games that present you with nostalgia for the good old days of the 16-bit console RPGs, pick this one up. You won't regret it. If you'd like to see more of my content, you can click on this lovely video here, and as always, thank you for watching, and keep on gaming.